It is a scam when you don't allow everyone to operate on fair terms.
We are the Robin Hoods of sports betting. We take something back from the rich bookies and enable our customers to beat them instead.
G'day everyone, welcome to episode 3 of live sharp sessions on the Trademate Sports YouTube channel, where we answer your betting questions, discuss both new and old betting strategies, preview the weekend sport betting action, and welcome on guests from around the betting industry. So today, as you will see advertised, I will be welcoming on Chris Ryan, who is a pro sports bettor here in Australia and mostly does a couple of things, but most known for specialising in the NRL. So he will be here very shortly in about 15 minutes. And we will go through some of the future betting markets there. So that should be good. Get you guys a few bets. But in the meantime, if anyone is present and would like to send through any questions, you can do so. I'll just put this in the message so when people come, they know that Chris is coming. Sorry. Chris is coming in 15 minutes. All right. So for one, in the meantime, I was just going to answer any questions and a little update on what I've been up to. And also I'll just go through my weekend bets while Chris is not here. So firstly, for those who follow me on Twitter, I'm going to be at Bet Bash this year. So I thought I'd let you all know that I'll be at Bet Bash in Vegas in less than 3 weeks. I think it starts on August the 8th. So if you are in Vegas at that time or going to Bet Bash, let me know. And I'm sure I'll see some of you there, hopefully, and we can meet up for a few drinks and meet some of you. Should be a fun event. For those that don't know what Bet Bash is, it's kind of like I guess you could call it a betting conference, or I guess a professional sports betting networking conference. And basically, Tuesday through to Friday, there is an open bar in various different bars in Vegas, and then throughout the day, there's stuff like networking kind of stuff, panels, live podcasts, all sorts of team kind of stuff. So I guess a good opportunity for professional sports bettors, any sports bettor of any real level. Don't even have to be a sports bettor. Could be, working in the industry in general. It's just a good time for people to come together and get together, have some fun, and potentially make relationships with people that you haven't met before, or might have something in common, work, just all sorts of I guess it should present any kind of opportunity. So for anyone going that's listening or watching, please flick us a message on Twitter, and I look forward to meeting some people that I probably haven't been able to meet before in person, that I have met virtually. All right. But guys, fire through any questions you have before Chris comes. He'll be here pretty soon. But in the meantime, bets for the weekend. All right, let's kick things off. I've got 3 UFC bets. So we'll go Josh Coolabout. These are all with, not all of them, but I try to just use Bet365 odds so everyone has a chance of getting on, just because they're the most global bookmaker, them, and I guess can be maybe. But yeah, Josh Coolabout versus Lerone Murphy. I've got Coolabout at 2.25 at Bet365. I think that's worth about 3.5 units. I think so far, just going through the record, we're up 5 after 2 weeks. We're up 5.65 units. Just from my bets, not counting Jonas's. If we count Jonas's, we'd be up even more. But it's only been 5 bets, so we've gotten off to a nice start. But anyway, yeah, Coolabout is fighting Lerone Murphy. I just see this as like very much a 50-50 fight. Both good strikers, both pretty poor grapplers, wrestling, not their strong suit. Hear lots of people saying that either of them may have some kind of wrestling edge, which may be true, but I just don't really see it playing a huge part in the fight. I think they'll just both be looking to spend their energy in the striking, and I think, yeah, like I said, I think it's like just kind of a 50-50 fight. Coolabout, I would say Coolabout is probably Coolabout's fought a lot more strikers, so there's kind of a better idea of what his striking level is at. So compared to Lerone Murphy, he's fought a lot of wrestlers and grapplers. So I think that's why he's being favoured here. Also, just being the home crowd too. I think he's being mostly favoured because no one's really seen some of the weak points of his striking, just because he hasn't fought any great strikers. Probably the best one he's fought was in his last fight against Gabriel Santos. Let me have a look just to double check I'm not getting this wrong. Yeah, so he fought Gabriel Santos, edged him slightly, could have gone either way. That decision. Fought a bantamweight in Silva de Andrade, so not really a fair matchup there in a sense. Mia Khani's a grappler, Ricardo Ramos is a grappler, and Zubair is mostly he got dropped by him. He got a bit of striking, but he's mostly a wrestler. But anyway, let's lock that one in. I think it's just Coolabout's a weird style too. Like, I feel like Lerone Murphy's a lot more what's the word? He's a lot more common style, I guess, of striking. So it's going to be harder for guys like him. Well, Coolabout's probably seen lots of guys like Lerone before. So I think I just think it'll be a close fight. I guess hometown advantage doesn't probably help Coolabout too much, but I think there's a chance that I kind of think Coolabout's maybe the slightly better striker, but I'm not too confident on that. I think he's also got the better chin, and just from the way I've seen Lerone take punches in certain times. So we'll see how that one goes. The next one is I'll quickly just answer. I'll just quickly go through these bets first, and then I'll answer the questions. The main event, Tom Aspinall, round 1 at 205, 4 units on that with Bet365. I've got I was able to get 2.14 or something like that over here in Australia. So if you're in Australia, you can get like 2.14 with Bettor and Dabble and like Play Up, those kind of books. So you can probably get better odds than that. I think the tab came in. But yes. So Aspinall's very short in odds. I just wouldn't take the 1.22. And I think the only reason he's like that short is because he's going to like have some early success here, like some serious early success. I honestly think the chances of Aspinall winning in round 1, the only way it doesn't win, I would say, is if he decides to try and wrestle Tybura early, which I think would be a weird strategy because I think his hands are just like going to be so much faster and he's going to have such a huge advantage there early. Or if he's maybe like wants to play it really patient, play like not an outside game, but not be as aggressive as he normally is. But he's normally uber aggressive, so I would err on the side of he's not going to do that. So I would bet this all the way down to 1.9. I think he's like probably if he keeps it standing for 5 minutes, he's probably like a 75% chance of at least rocking Tybura at one point. And yeah, Tybura is like, he's a good fighter, but Aspinall's hands are just lightning fast for heavyweights. So I think that's a good one. And then lastly, Nathaniel Wood versus Andre Philly. Wood to win by knockout at I got 5.75, but I just put 5.5 here. Generally, you should be able to get that quite easily at various bookmakers. Canby, I think, well, last time I checked, Canby had it at 5.8. So, and I think that's good for 2.5 units. I think that's majorly overpriced. I would have that way closer to fours, something like that. That's why I've gone a bit bigger with the units size, even though it's quite big odds. I think I kind of lean towards, I think Wood's about 1.5. I think his money line's kind of a little bit overblown. I actually bet Philly also, just had a small play on him. But I think Wood KO. I think basically Wood's method of victory is like pretty 50-50 when it comes to KO or decision. I mean, I think he only really gets a sub if it's like a club and sub if he gets rocked and he's on the ground and you can't knock him out fully and he jumps on a neck or something like that. So Philly's been dropped a lot of times in his career. He was only knocked out pretty brutally by Brito in 45 seconds a couple of fights ago. I just think I think his and Nathaniel Wood was like seriously rocking Charles Jourdain, who's got a mammoth chin on him. So that tells me a lot that he's got some serious power. And I think I would have Wood maybe towards like 1.6, 1.65, 7, something like that. But I think like half of his winning equity is getting a knockout. So yeah, I think that's a great bet. All right, so that's the bets for the weekend. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. As I said, we're up 5.65 units and ROI 35% so far. We're killing it after 5 bets. We won't put that in there. That doesn't matter. But let's answer some questions. Chris should be here in 5 minutes. This is from Sid SS. Sorry, my connection just went out, which happens every stream just about. Hey, Alex, how do you manage not to get gubbed on your soft books early on, especially when you're starting with a decent sized bankroll of 3K and above? Well, I mean, it's impossible, basically. I would, if I was you, I've done a number of articles. I've even done videos on this, on like the top tips on how to not get gubbed or how to not get banned. I'll see if I can send the link to some of the videos. I'm not trying to stave off the question. I'm just generally, you're going to get a better answer there than me thinking off the top of my head right now, because at that time, I was actually really concentrating and thinking of everything you can potentially do. Here we go. Perfect. Copy link. I'll put it in the comments here for you, mate, Sid. But I think if quick tips, I would say maybe if it's a really important account, like I would say Bet365 for me is probably the most important account out there. I spend for the first week before I get it, I just chuck a few multis in there, first goal scorer, correct scores, all the kind of things that are, same game multis, even though they can be sharp, chuck them in there. Like, just make it look as recreational as possible. And then hopefully all the bets lose or they win, whatever. First try scorer, these kind of stuff. And then after that, then hopefully I guess the bookmaker thinks you're not too great, and they let you bet for a little bit longer. But if you go into an account and you start placing really sharp bets, essentially the worst thing you can do is to get noticed. And that sounds stupid, but to like never do anything like that's going to get your bet reviewed, basically. So, for example, like Canby is a good example of that. They'll say like, you can either have this bet for $150. Say you want to put $500 on something. They say we'll give you $150. If you want an extra $350, we'll send that to a trader and see if they accept it. Don't do that unless it's like the account's pretty much gone anyway. Don't do that because that just gives them an excuse to look at your account. So you can do Bet365 do the exact same thing. So once you hit the limit, it'll say like, we can only accept this much of your bet. The rest will get referred to a trader. Don't do that. It's just going to get your account pinged. All right, I'll quickly rifle through these before Chris comes. Interested about priming strategies. Do you run ongoing priming or just initial start? Yeah, I just do the start, Alex, mostly. And I only really do it for really important accounts. For like, for like bookmakers where I know that, like I'm only going to be able to win a certain amount of money. Like it's not like Bet365 sports bet, for example, you'll be able to win a lot of money. Like, you can have accounts where you win, $20,000 to $30,000, $40,000, which is a lot for a betting account. Whereas, for your smaller bookmakers, you win a little bit. I think Chris is here. I'll just see if got him. Oh. Have we got you, mate?
You've got me. How you going, Alex?
Oh no, I can't hear you. This is the worst nightmare.
No better?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Yeah, okay. Maybe for people watching live, let me know if you can hear Chris, because if you can't hear Chris, then it's probably something he's done.
Good.
Come on, people, help us out here.
No good yet? Still can't hear me?
We can hear you both. Oh, no, it's probably me then. Jeez.
That's even better.
All right. Speak now, mate. No, I don't think I've got you.
Can't hear me yet?
Oh, no, this is horrible.
Well, I'm glad John and Sid can hear me.
Oh, wait, here we go. We might be on here. Have I got you now?
I can hear you fine. Hopefully this will work shortly. Is this better now? No.
Oh, you there?
I'm there. Can you hear me?
Oh, gotcha. Jeez, that was nearly calamity.
Nearly. For a minute or two, it was.
Nearly, yeah. We did it, mate. So I'll just finish up answering this. I think I've answered your question anyway, Alex. Maybe we can get to these later. Actually, seems like I've caught up on most of them. But mate, how are we?
Doing well, mate. Doing well. Is that a Tino bobblehead you've got there?
Oh, mate, I brought it out especially for you. Do you like it? Oh, go on. I'm back. Can you guess who the other one is?
I was trying to work out who the other one is. It looks small. I don't know. Who is
Fighter's
that?
legend. Arguably the legend.
Anthony Don?
Yeah. He
I was
came in
trying
my
to guess.
members package about 2 years ago, but he sadly lost his base, so we had to
Yeah, okay.
use the old blue tack.
I wanted to guess a halfback because he was so much smaller than Tino.
Yeah, I know I think it's a different company. So,
Yeah.
yeah, sadly, hopefully we can grow it, but I can only find Tinos out there at the moment.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Mate, we're going to go through some of the futures betting markets. So we will start with, I guess you've got general thoughts on certain teams.
Mhm.
You messaged me some of your just quick hits, and maybe we can just go through them as we look through the markets, because I guess we're going to,
Sure.
instead of going through the top 8, 9, 10 teams, then we'll probably be here all day.
Yep.
John Nimmo got the Don. And also, guys, if you've got any questions throughout the stream, just flick them through and we will get to them. So, mate, we'll start with the outright winner market. I'll get up odds checker so people have got a general idea of where the odds lie. Mate, general thoughts here. I've had a few bets here this week myself, so I'd be interested to hear what you think. Are you approaching this from a sense that Penrith are, clear favourites, let's just get on board with them ASAP, or are you thinking we've got to find a roughie here?
No, I'm definitely not looking at it in terms of finding a roughie. At this point of the season, we've got like 6 rounds to go. You tend to only find a handful of teams who can really win at this point. So outsiders don't really interest me at this point. Outsiders don't typically win from this point. You want to be finding a top 14, and I've got Penrith clear favourites, and I have them rated a bit shorter than the bookmakers. So I've got them rated 250. I think there's 275, maybe 280 out there. So actually, in the outright market, I think they're the only value I have, which would typically be the case when you're shortest the favourite. When you have the favourite value, that tends to mean you dislike everything else at current prices.
Yeah, I actually backed the Panthers at 3s earlier in the week. You can get 3s at Betway now, but I had a similar price for them. I just thought it's just so hard to find a team to beat them at the moment. Is it the only one that came to mind, which I also bet lightly, was the Rabbits. I just feel like out of all the rest of the teams, if all those if you think if all those teams hit their peak performance, I'd probably say the Rabbits or the Cowboys are the best chances. Did you get any close to any? Are you close to any of the other guys in terms of other teams? Sorry, in terms of betting them, or?
So I think you're right in terms of the the thought process. You got to think of who can actually hit a peak to be able to win the whole thing. You can't just be good. You actually got to hit the peak. But the 2 teams that you talked about, South and the Cowboys, which I've seen plenty of other people talk about, are probably the 2 that I'm the furthest away from the market. I think they're clearly too short, considering they're sitting 8th and 9th in the ladder.
Yeah,
they've got a long way to go to finish top 4, you really want them finishing top 4. Like South at the moment are $6, $7 at the moment. They can come home well and finish 4th. They'll still be $7 at the start of the playoffs, because Penrith's still going to be under 3s. So I can't find much value in backing South at the moment, because unless they finish in the top 4, they're going to be about the same price. But if they don't finish in the top 4, which is more likely, they should be double figures come the start of the playoffs.
Yeah, that was my big concern with the bet was they've kind of got to make the top 4. I mean, if you feel like if there was ever a year where outside the top 4 was going to make the grand final, it could be this year, just because
I can see that.
much between like let's just say the Broncos and the Eels. Like there's not that much between all those sides, is there?
No, yeah, there isn't a huge amount. That's why I guess maybe the top 4 is more important. You're all clustered together, but if you finish the top 4, you potentially play one less game to make the grand final. You have the potential of hosting a preliminary final, which is a big home ground advantage. The Cowboys are no good things to make the 8 yet. They're currently sitting 9. Souths have a really, really strange run home. They play the next 4 games all on neutral tracks, and they don't play again in Sydney until the last round. They're going to Cairns, Perth, Tamworth, Newcastle. They're going to everywhere. They might not be playing the hardest games, playing Sunshine Coast tonight. And 3 of them are listed as their home games, but they're actually on neutral tracks. So whilst they might not have the hardest draw, there's a lot of travel and no home games until the last round of the season.
Yeah. No, some good points there, mate. Yeah, I felt a lot worse about them too when Latrell was ruled out last night because, tonight's a huge game. If they win tonight, then they're a very good chance, or much better chance of making the top 4. But a loss tonight, it's going to make it very tough for them. So, all right, mate, there's some. I like that. Like we're on similar page there with the Panthers. Top 4, mate. I will get the market up. One sec. I basically from here on out, in terms of all of the markets minus the top 8, I was a big fan of the Warriors mostly. Any thoughts on they've just got the easiest run home by an absolute country mile compared to everyone else. Like it's actually a joke. I don't know how they how they managed it, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely agree with you there. I think after they beat the Sharks on Sunday, I think they might have been around $1.80 or something to make the top 8, $1.75, something like that. I think everyone's seen that and trimmed them in, and now they're more like $1.50. But yeah, they have an absolute soft as butter draw on the way home. Every single team is outside the top 8 they play, bar tonight's game against Canberra, but they're all for their massive favourites tonight. They could conceivably win every single one of those games and go into the finals on an 8, 9, 10 game winning streak or something. Yeah. I'm not sure that I really like their chances of actually winning the whole thing. I could almost see some value in the Warriors top 4 around that 150, 160 mark, because they've just come into form at the right time of the year. Brilliant in their last 2 weeks, and their win over Cronulla on Sunday, up there with the absolute best games of the year of any team's reached. So absolutely annihilated a very good team. They're almost valued at around that 150, 160 mark.
Yeah, I got them at 175, luckily, but there weren't many hanging around on Monday. I think everyone had jumped on them. What about some of these other sides? Are there? Let's look at firstly sides you could potentially fade to make the top 4. There are definitely markets like that out there. I don't know what's going on with some of the odds here at like Sky, but they're obviously got this wrong. But like, are there any teams like maybe the Storm or I'm trying to see also here some of the shorter favourites? But yeah, teams like the Storm and the Broncos, like any of them, you're looking and saying, I actually don't think they're going to make the top 4.
I can't say I've looked at to miss the top 4 market. I think Penrith, Brisbane, Warriors look very good things to make the top 4.
Yeah,
I think Melbourne's they'll grind away and make the top 4 as well. I think I don't like Canberra, but I don't imagine I'm getting too good odds on them to miss the top 4 anyway.
No, they're at 3.5 just to make it. So
yeah.
But any of these others?
Probably not really.
What was that? Sorry.
There's probably nothing I would love in the to miss the top 4 sort of market.
Yeah, okay. And to make it any of these like outsider ones, like even though they are in the top four, you got the Raiders at 3.5. The Sharks are copping at left, right, and center. They're at 4.5, and then you've got the Rabbits too. I mean, Rabbits might be the only interesting prospect maybe if they go on a run, but yeah, they're at 2.6.
No, I think Sharks have a harder run, but I think they've got a bit more upside. And I really, really like the changes that Fitzgibbons made this week. I think he should have made them 20 weeks ago. But Matt Moylan's absolutely cast. You know, he's a speed bump. So I think that's a big upgrade, playing Braden Trindle over him. And Connor Tracy has carved up the very minimal games he's played in first grade this year and last year. I think he had to come into the side. Teague Wilton's he's gone out with an injury, but I would have probably dropped him anyway. So I really like the changes they've made. You know, they've been a good, solid team. You know, possibly adding the energy of Connor Tracy and adding some better defense in Braden Trindle could lift them a bit higher. They do have a hard run home, but they're probably one of the ones that at a better price I would go with at the top four.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and it's probably a decent time to get on board. I think they got Manly tonight or this weekend, maybe Sunday.
You got Manly on Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I could almost. It'll be funny because I reckon they'll probably put 40 or 50 on them, and people will say, "Well, yeah, they're just flat track bullies," and then it's interesting to see if they can back that up in the weeks after against some better teams with the changes in the side. So could be one to look at for this week. And are you I mean, do you think the market's valuing them right at the moment in terms of the week to week kind of stuff, or do you think that potentially?
I think it does. I think it does. You mentioned the Sharks as flat track bullies, which I think they're the number one flat track bully team in the comp, and I've tended to back the Sharks when they play the lower teams. I'll be backing them against Manly this week, and then more steering clear of them when they're playing the better teams, which doesn't really bode well for winning the whole comp. You know, you want to be able to take on the contenders, not just flog the also rans. But that's kind of their place at the moment, I think.
Yeah. Mate, top 8. I had this was normally this is quite an exciting one to bet on, but it very much feels like it's a top 9. And
agree.
To bet on one team to make it in, you're not getting anything above even. So it seems like a very unattractive market at the moment.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Plenty of times at this time of the year, I've been backing teams at 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. You know, it's $6 or something to make the 8. But it does look like it'll be the top 9 teams will be there. One will miss out. So I couldn't be really recommending, the Roosters, Newcastle, Manly, any of those Titans. I can't see any of those teams making the 8. They've got a bit of a break to catch up. They're 3 points, 4 points out.
Yeah.
And they haven't shown any signs of being a high level enough team to get there to make the jump.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, they've basically got to win every single game. It's pretty hard to see any of those teams doing that at the moment. Is there any? Do you have a thought on out of the 9 teams, which one will most likely miss out? It's hard to say. I feel like the Raiders, with their for and against, it hurts them quite a lot, but the Eels missing RCG and Sevo now for 4 weeks or whatever it is, like that's a pretty big hit.
Yeah, I would say the most likely to miss the 8 probably would be Parramatta because they have a very tough run home. They've got 4 away games against Penrith, Cowboys, Brisbane, Melbourne. That's up there. That's up there with the 4 hardest away games there is at the moment, as well as plenty of suspensions. Dylan Brown's still a few weeks away. Sevo, Campbell Gillard. Whereas a lot of other teams the top 8 teams are quite healthy at the moment. Parramatta's got a lot of suspensions and a tough run home. They can get to higher levels than many of the other teams. They've got a higher ceiling, a better peak than I think Cronulla, Warriors, I think the North Queensland, Canberra, but hard run home, missing a few players. I think they might finish 7th or 8th, but the most likely out of that group perhaps to miss.
Yeah. All right, mate. Into minor premiers. I basically think for the next couple of markets I was going to go through, I just think the Warriors I think you could get Warriors at 26s to get minor premiers. Like, I don't think it's all that unlikely that they win every single game for the rest of the comp, and your Panthers maybe drop 2 games. Something, I think that would put them on top, if I'm not mistaken. So I thought 26s was quite big. Are there any others you've looked at for minor premier?
That one could really be the only one, because the problem is that Penrith actually has a pretty soft run home. Whilst the Warriors have by far the easiest, I would say Penrith has the next easiest. They've got five games to go at home. 5 of the last 7 are at home. And the away games they have are all against bottom 8 teams. So they're going to be between like 6 to 30-point favourites in every single one of those games. So that makes it hard to really want any other one, because Penrith maybe in the last round against the Cowboys, they might rest players because they've done that in the past, which is could be a help for the Cowboys. But the Warriors would be the only one, and it is a long shot, but you're getting a long shot price. Yeah. But because Penrith's run is so soft on the way home as well, there isn't anybody else I'd want to go with.
Yeah. Mate, and any other markets you like at the moment? Because I've got one that stood out to me quite a lot, but you can go first.
No, look, I'm ready to hear yours. Just load up on Penrith. Really, don't complicate things, is what I would say. There isn't, as we've talked about, there isn't a whole lot of value in to make the 8 market. Penrith looks pretty solid for minor premiers. Sometimes you can't just create and invent bets that aren't there. So I'm not probably going too far out of the norm here. I'm just sticking with Penrith at this point.
Yeah.
So what's yours? What's your out there one?
Well, top non-New South Wales team, the Warriors at 9s. You can get that at Bet365 Sports Bet. So they're basically fighting against the Storm, the Broncos, Raiders, and the Cowboys. Like we've said a million times, they've got the easiest run home by a mile. They could win every single game. If they win this weekend, I think I'll just get up the ladder so I'm not speaking out of my arse here, but if they win this weekend and they beat the Raiders tonight, and then the Broncos lose to the Rabbits, because they've also got the bye. Broncos have got the bye too. So, yeah, if Broncos lose tonight and the Warriors beat the Raiders, then they're only 2 points behind the Broncos, and they've got the softest run home out of everyone. So I just feel like 9s is way too big. Thoughts, mate?
I hadn't spotted that market, but I would think that anyone listening now, go and run and jump on it. That's a good find. That is a good find. There's no way the Warriors should be $9 in that field. No, that's a very good find. You get the Warriors $9 versus the Broncos $136. I'm looking at Sports Bet at the moment. There's a pretty good chance they end up on equal points by the end of the season.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's good value. That's good value.
Well, I would have them a little bit below the Broncos probably in terms of the odds there, and I'd have them definitely as second favourites ahead of the Storm, because Storm haven't got a bye. So that's an automatic 2 points for the Warriors. They're basically on level points right now, except Warriors have got a better points differential and they've got a way easier run home. So, that's it's almost a mistake. It's not the greatest pricing there.
No.
Before we get on to, we're going to talk a little bit of NRLW, mate. Sorry, there weren't any other markets you wanted to go through in the future?
No, not really. I do think that Melbourne is still one of the chances who can actually win the comp, but for me, that relies on Pappenhausen coming back and Pappenhausen being Pappenhausen. Obviously, been waiting 20 weeks already, and he's not back, and he's supposed to be back near the first half of the season. If he can get back with 3 rounds to go, and he gets to 5 or 6 games before the semis, before like the big games in the semis, and he plays so well with Munster and Hughes and Harry Grant, Melbourne then has the ability to get up to the level just below Penrith, or they would definitely have the ability to be the second best team in the comp if he was there.
It's crazy to think that he hasn't played yet this season. I mean, he must have the shattered kneecap. It sounds horrendous, but it's obviously taking a lot longer to come back than everyone
Yeah, for sure.
estimated. It's kind of sad, isn't it?
Yeah. I backed Melbourne. I'm on Melbourne from the start of the season about 850, and they're about the same price they are. They haven't moved too much, but they still have that ability if they can get that one extra player to help push them over the edge.
Yeah. Before we get on to NRLW, mate, anything for the weekend that you like? You mentioned the Sharks for the weekend. I assume, did you take them on the line or?
I like the Sharks, but I am waiting to see what happens with some weather in that game. Particularly when looking at a big minus, there is a lot of rain predicted potentially in Sydney and Cronulla Coastal on Sunday. Taking big minuses is harder when the rain comes, and you'll see a dropping total. So I like the Sharks, but I'll just be waiting on that a little bit at the moment.
What's your favourite weather app, mate? What's the most trustworthy one?
Look, I try them all, see what's happening. I usually use Weather Zone and then get the rain radars on the BOM, Bureau of Meteorology.
Good man.
I spend too much time looking at rain radars. I've been watching the rain radar in Auckland today for tonight's game.
All right, jeez. Oh, fuck, that game with the Rabbits and the Warriors was an absolute. Oh, that was deplorable weather.
Yeah, they've had a couple like that this year in Auckland.
Yeah. All right, so that's all you got for round 21, mate.
That's probably the main one. There's a couple of totals. I think the Newcastle Melbourne total is a little bit high. There's not a huge amount else I like at the moment. I've had a good season so far. I've really enjoyed betting on rugby league during the Origin period where players are in and out all the time. I think that's a really good area to get an edge. The low games during the middle of the year, I like them.
Yeah, well, we're out of that now. So I thought that's the reason I got you on. I thought, now that the Origin madness is over, we can actually look at some of the outright markets. But it was actually perfectly timed with the start of the NRLW, mate. I kind of fluked that. I haven't got any of the betting mark. I'll see if I can find it. I doubt Odds Checker would have anything. Maybe I can just get up a Bet365 for people.
Yeah, they'll have it up. So we got the NRLW. So it kicks off this weekend, and obviously it's not something a lot of people are watching. So people new to it or unfamiliar, we've got 4 new teams this comp and a much more expanded comp. So we've gone from 6 teams to 10 teams. And last year we had 5 rounds, and this year's 9 or 10. So there's 3 times as many games in the NRLW to bet on this year as last year, and probably 10 times as many as the previous years, which was very small. And as a result of that, there is just an influx of new players who are playing in the New South Wales Women's Premiership and the Queensland Women's Premiership. They pull players from wherever they can. There's plenty of ex-Rugby Sevens players in NRLW squads now. But there's a lot of unfamiliarity to start the season. There's a good 40 or so players making their debuts this weekend that I've never heard of. But that also means the bookmakers have never heard of them either. So the NRLW if you're into it and you follow it, and like other second tier, third tier leagues of different sports around the world, if you follow it, you can certainly get an edge on it. Because for the most part, the bookmakers aren't following it that closely. Someone will set a line, everybody else will copy it and assume it's the correct line when it's frequently not. And you'll see heavy reactions and overreactions to what happens in the first weekend of the NRLW. Like last year, round 1 they were setting totals around 30, and the next weekend it had bumped to like 36, 37 on every single game. Right. So the first weekend I was just backing overs on everything because they got it all wrong. And then they overreacted, and then I could start betting the unders. So you'll see some of those sorts of things on the NRLW too. They'll react too strongly to one team winning with the big score without actually, necessarily watching the game or seeing what the quality is.
What's the market like in general in terms of, is there Like, are the limits okay? What kind of, there's some books
No.
where you think you would just like completely avoid them? Like, if you just try and place one bet, your account will get banned, or are there some that actually allow decent limits? Like, talk a little bit about the market with me.
No, the honesty is that the market's not huge for it. Everybody has markets up for it, as in previous years, not everyone was. And last year there was lines only going up on game days, whereas today's Friday, all the markets are up. So there has been an improvement in that. No, the limits aren't huge. The limits certainly aren't huge for me. But I'll take whatever scraps you can get. Unfortunately, I don't know if there's any great difference between bookmaker to bookmaker on NRLW in terms of the limit they're going to take. If they're top sport, they take whatever limit they will on NRL. They'll do just something, a quarter of that on NRLW sort of thing, depending on how you're marked as a punter with them.
But would you say it's still worth your time? Like, I don't know how much time you devote to the NRL in comparison, but like, is it still worth your time in terms of how much you can actually get down?
We'll see. Yeah, so that's something that I have thought about myself. Yeah, like it's 5 games a weekend that I've got to watch on top of 8 games of NRL a weekend to watch.
Yeah.
So it is a lot more work as opposed to last year, we're only watching 3 games a week. I'll see. For me, it could be a case of I bet it for a couple of weeks and I'm wasting my time because I'm getting $100 and $200 bets on, and it's not worth my time to try and make some money out of it. Then I'll tune out of it. But I'll certainly be into it for the first few weeks. And if I can get decent bets on, then I'll go the whole 10 weeks.
All right, nice, mate. So round 1, is there anything that takes your fancy, mate? I've got the market up here on Bet365. I'm not sure if this is the same for similar kind of odds at other books, but anything here, mate?
So when you talk about similar different types of books, the NRLW, because it is so much smaller, there actually is a bit of a difference between other books. Between bookmakers. Most times let's say a line is -6. Well, every bookmaker is going to bet -6 or -6.5 or -5.5. They're going to be half a point either side. That's it. Otherwise, people are trying to arbit too much. But looking around today, yes, there was 2-point gap. Someone was betting 3.5. Someone was betting 5.5. Someone was betting a 36.5 total. Someone was betting a 34.5 total. And that's not what you see on NRL or AFL. The bookmakers are more tightly aligned, so you can find an edge purely on shopping for the best price on NRLW.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
As far as this weekend, so look, it's a big guessing game on the first weekend. I'm going to guess, but so are the bookmakers. So I'm okay putting money on the line, even though there's plenty of players I don't know because nobody knows who they are. Right? They've been playing low-level rugby league, and now all of a sudden they'll be NRLW on TV. I don't know what they're like, but I have a baseline. If I haven't heard of you before, there's no hype about you, then you're going to be going in there as a below-average player. To start with, I like St George. They're +7.5, +8.5 against Newcastle. Newcastle won the comp last year, but every team's brand new this year. They've lost plenty of their players who were in their grand final team last year. And the Dragons have probably the best halfback in the comp in Racine McGregor. Newcastle definitely the better team for this first round, but I think 7.5, 8.5 is too big a line.
Okay, nice, mate. And have you dared to dabble into the future markets for the NRLW?
Thus far, I found them surprisingly efficient. The only team I kind of half like is the Gold Coast at about 10, so they're another returning team. Gold Coast was the only team I kind of liked at 10s. There's a bit of a tail at the bottom. Some of the new teams, Canberra, West, Cowboys, look pretty ordinary. The Roosters, they've got their salary cap sombrero on for the NRLW because they recruited better than any other team. They don't really have rookies in their team. They've got all like bona fide NRLW players. So they head the market, and they head my market too. They're around the $4 mark. But yeah, certainly 1 or 2 weeks in, 2 weeks in, I'd probably completely relook at the futures market once you've seen the teams once or twice, and you can get a better gauge on what you should attack and what you should let go.
Yep. All right, mate. Good stuff. Well, I'm sure we've given the viewers / listeners later some bones to chew on there. For people still watching, send through any questions you've got for Chris while he's here. He's a man with great knowledge, so I'm sure he can help you out with any betting advice. Anything else been happening outside of or any other sports you've been betting at the moment, mate? Anything exciting going on outside of the NRL?
Look, I'm writing some Tommy Fleetwood bets in the Open. He started with a nice fight. He started nice 5 under. I'm on Hovland and Schauffele as well, who are not too far away. So I'm writing a bit of golf at the moment and some fantasy golf as well. It's a good time for late night sport with League, AFL, Tour de France, Ashes, golf, whatever's on. Matildas, World Cup. Don't even need to go to bed.
I know. How good, mate. It's a good time to be alive. John Nimmo, he says, is there any tips for Twitter accounts to follow for late team news or injuries, mate?
There's a couple of good ones. Adam Styles, I think is his name. Yeah, Adam Styles, A Styles author. He always tweets late changes. And what's the other one? Wacko Whispers. He tends to be well in with a few different clubs and give you some interesting bits here and there on player changes. Those are the two that I tend to follow the most, as well as different journalists here and there.
Yeah, I like the one you gave me for the Titans. What was his name? Matthews. It's like some Greek last name. I forget his. But yeah, I guess for a Titans supporter, it's good because no one cares about the Titans. So it's good to have like one journalist who seems to care and sends through the late injury news, which is nice.
And I see John's asked another question he's asking about first and last try scorers and same game multis for NRL. The best tip is not to do any same game multis. They just tend to be absolutely horrendous odds. Some of the stuff that Sportsbet promotes and the number of people who are on those same game multis, they're printing money. Sportsbet. I would steer clear of those. I do some first try scorer, anytime try scorer bets. I've made a bit of money this year backing centers and back rowers who are opposite Matt Moylan. Unfortunately, that edge has now just gone away because he's not there. But finding those areas where you expect a team to really target a player because they're continually letting in tries, and you'll see teams continue to go there, each team each week. Well, they let tries in there, we're going to go there as well. So those are some of the areas that I like to do some of the first and anytime try scorer bets.
Yeah, nice.
A lot of the time backing outside of Sean Johnson. Sean Johnson likes passing to his back rower and his right back rower and his right centre. And they've changed a bit for the Warriors between Niokore, Curran, Berry, Pompey. They change them around a bit. So just paying attention to who's going to be outside of like Sean Johnson can get you in the green.
Yeah, Nakora is a good one too, but I think the market's kind of cottoned on to him quite a bit in terms of the greatest line runner of all time, I reckon, Britt Nakora.
Oh, Britt Nakora for the Sharks, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say with the first try score, because I've been betting quite a lot of anytime try scorers and having decent success. I'm wondering though, like, do you think that if you like a number for anytime try scorer, would you how are you figuring out, I guess, mathematically if there's also value on the first try scorer, or is it kind of just like if there's value on any time, then most likely there's also value on first try scorer?
Usually there is, because usually the anytime try scorer and the first, they're derivatives of each other. Obviously that can change a little bit on a prop or, guys who are going to be going in and off the interchange bench. Then you might have more of a feel on whether you want them to be back in the first time or any time. The first try scorer markets probably have a little bit more margin built into the bookmakers, which is probably why I would go a bit more anytime try scorer. And you can probably get a bit more variance in the prices that the bookmakers bet for anytime try scorers over first try scorers.
Yeah. Okay, mate. That's good to know. John Nimmo, he's back again. He says bench players have been very profitable too, especially first and second half. And old mate Jared Wallace, he loves a try. From watching him for years at the Titans, he'll do anything to get a try, that man.
Yeah, I see that there is a what's their name, Wiki. It tweets out a lot of high-priced try scorers, props and second rows and whatever else, and a lot of them they're looking into second half guys they expect to come onto the game, 30 minutes into the game, so they're going to be there at the start of the second half.
Yeah, no, good point. Anthony Jupp says, is the research into NRL year round now?
Not for me. Like once the NRL season's done, like I'll write a review for myself to remember what I want to remember to the next season. But then I'll move on to other sports during the Australian summer.
Yeah. And also, how difficult has it become betting on the most expensive product?
It's certainly become a lot more difficult. Particularly Betfair, as they jacked up. Peter Volandi's got in there a few years ago, and he hates Betfair, and he jacked the commission levels up, or what the NRL was charging them, so that Betfair had to jack the commission levels up. I used to do a lot of business, particularly on first try scorers, actually on Betfair. They used to be 105% markets with reasonable liquidity at a time, where a normal bookmaker is betting 160% on a first try scorer market. But that liquidity's gone, that percentage is gone. And then straight up head-to-head markets on Betfair, you're paying a 10% commission on it, so you're getting worse than $1.90.
Yeah.
So I almost do none there anymore. So it does make it a lot harder.
Yeah, it's hard to do anything on Betfair. I've done a little bit of golf here and there, but that's about it, really.
Golf's a good market for it because there's a lot of liquidity on it, and in those big markets, they get down to 105%, whereas a big 156 person field of, I don't know, what a bookmaker's betting probably 150% on that or more on that sort of a market.
Yeah. All right, mate. How do you do your golf anyway? You get information from other guys, or are you covering that too?
I do a lot of fantasy betting on golf. So I use a few different projection models and tweak them a little bit myself. Use Betfair markets. Watch a lot of golf. So kind of a confluence of a few different things.
Yeah. Okay. All right, mate. Well, that's good stuff. I think our questions have dried up here, but mate, it's been terrific having you on once again to talk about the NRL. We'll see how our some of our NRL futures bets on. To recap, we're both fans of Penrith to win the comp. I think it's still widely available to get 2.75 in a few places. Sure. So that should be good to take. And outside of that, I think the only other one we liked was Warriors. I guess Warriors.
You like the Warriors for everything.
Yeah, I like the Warriors for everything. I think what was it? Warriors top 4. You get the 1.5 now. There's probably still some value in that, and also the Warriors top non-New South Wales team at 9. That's a decent there one too. And John's doing my job for me, mate. I was just about to ask where can we follow you, mate? I've left the link to John to Chris's Twitter below.
Unfortunately, I have to mention my embarrassing Twitter handle again, do I?
At
I'm DeBomb82 on Twitter. Follow me there. I'll talk for ages on there too with you, John.
Oh, mate, it never gets old. I wish that was my Twitter handle. I'd be proud of that, mate. Loud and proud.
Yeah.
But thanks everyone for tuning in. I'll be back, same time next week. See if I can get another good guest on for you all. If not, you might just have to listen to me talk for a little bit of time. But mate, thanks for coming on once again. And we'll have to catch up soon.
All right. Cheers.